Right, there was a football game. There was a football match yesterday, 2-1 to United, and it seems like, as usual, one victory, one performance that had some energy in it is an open game, a game where it's the only kind of game Manchester United can look even slightly okay in. Open game, transitions, continuous back and forth in regards to giving away possession, lackluster opposition in regards to taking their chances, really creating anything. Real lack of quality on the ball from Brentford for the majority of the game, even though they did start well. Brentford did keep the ball quite nicely at times. In regards to actual possession, I think Brentford showed more prowess on the ball at times. Obviously, that doesn't being decent on the ball here and there doesn't actually equate to wins and complete consistent performances, right? So Brentford played an open game, played a game which really showed a lack of, I suppose, a lack of respect to United early doors. Like I said here, but they didn't play well enough. In Buemo, Norsgaard, Damsgaard, they didn't actually play. They didn't play well enough. And so if you're going to come and you're going to be as expansive as you can be, try and control the tempo, try and control possession, there has to be a bit more quality on the ball. So I think Thomas Frank set his team up really well in the first half for the majority of it. Not really giving a lot of respect to Manchester United, but still keeping things nice and tight in the midfield, dominated the ball in periods, and just played really nice in the inside channels and the pockets, which every time I see United play a team, they always seem to play better in the pockets and in the inside channels than United. But yeah, early doors, Sharda should have scored 99 out of 100 times. That's a goal, right? He just completely missed the ball. Good play. Dallo gets caught high up the pitch, or like halfway line up the pitch. Ericsson goes to cover. Casemiro tries to go and cover. Both of them kind of almost stop halfway, hold their positions, and then the ball eventually gets crossed in with some nice quality, and Sharda misses the ball completely. And then, Man United grew into the half slightly. Again, it was quite a transitionary. It turned into more of a transitionary game after the kind of like 10-ish minutes, 10-15 minutes. And then once at Old Trafford, you're playing a mid-table team where it is turning into a bit of a ping-pong game, United, more times out of 10, will win that game. Once that cadence starts happening at Old Trafford against a team that don't have a hell amount of quality, or the quality they do have isn't being showed, so your three players with the most quality weren't really doing it for Brentford. And Buemo's been such a good outlet this season for them, obviously without Ivan Toney. So, it's a toothless Brentford to a certain extent, and you can get into that kind of like tit-for-tat match with a team like that, especially at home. And the crowd seems to respond to that. The crowd, I think realistically, the United fans, they just like dynamic end-to-end football, really, if we're honest. In the stadiums especially, and I think that's kind of what they want. I think that's just the kind of different fan bases and different cultures like football in different ways. And I just think in the red side of Manchester, they enjoy just fast running down the wings and crosses and headers and more dynamic kind of ball off the floor football. They like long balls and diagonals and stuff like that. So that's kind of what that game was. So I feel like probably a lot of United fans would have left that game really happy and really content even though we were 1-0 down at half time to a pretty toothless Brentford. But yeah, that goal to give us the 1-0 deficit was absolutely just horrific defending from Dalot. You just watch the replay, it's just the clearest, most obvious, egregious bit of non-defending that you'll see. Why is he marking Pinnock, who's just like I suppose Dalot is athletic to a certain extent, but why is he marking Pinnock, who's just an absolute unit and is like aggressive and raw? And you can see that with a header. It was a great header, but Dalot just completely, like, it wasn't even a great bit of movement. One player just kind of like got in between them. And as a defender at the top level, if in that position, so when a Brentford defender got in between Pinnock and Dalot, right? And it could have even been a United player as well. So it could be two players in between Dalot and Pinnock. So once that gap opens up between you and your marker, or the person you're marking, you've got to almost preempt their movement towards where you feel like they're going to go towards, right? So you're going to have to actually, that space might even get slightly bigger. You have to stop preempting it. The one thing you can't do is stay stationary and wait for them to go, because there's two players in front of you, in between you and him. Once he goes, by the time you react and visually can see which way he's moving, it will be too late. Again, like I said, you have to almost preempt the run. You can feel where everyone's kind of going to a certain extent. And yeah, preempting it is basically that. I would have preempted near post where he went, because that's where you could see that's where he was kind of like gearing to go. But you've got to again. You've got to see that movement happening and go a little bit earlier just to make sure. And then if he goes back post, you can re-divert then and cover on that side. And if he goes back post, you've got slightly more time to get to the ball, as it's obviously travelling a further distance. So yeah, it was absolutely disgraceful by Dalot. And just talking on Dalot there for a second, he isn't that great, right? He's not inventive when he inverts, when he comes inside. He is just a very linear, working on two planes. He's not very flexible when it comes to his vision, when it comes to his running patterns, his movement. He's not very flexible when it comes to the way he receives the ball, the way he can receive the ball on a turn or not. And if you're going to come inside and play big dick in the middle, yeah, and be Mr. Centre Mid, then you've actually got to show something on the ball. You've got to show some type of vision, something. I think the most Dalot offers is just that he just does a straight line run. When the ball's on the other side, he'll just straight line run through everything and try and get one of these Hail Mary through balls from the opposite fullback or the opposite winger. But the real test, or the real way we should really look at Dalot, is through the lens of he's this kind of like multifunctional left back, right back, He's one of the best he's probably the best fullback we got. Player this season, last year, all that bollocks, right? Because the standards obviously so low for fullbacks at United for so long, and Dalot's had an uptick in his kind of like performance to a certain extent, and his kind of maturity, right? His performances are just more mature. That's it. They're not. He's getting older, and his performances are getting more mature. I don't necessarily think. I think it's a bit of a cop out to just continuously come inside for fullbacks. I mean, obviously they're told to do that, but once you're in there, there's not really anything you can do wrong. Really, just keep the ball moving. If you do get on the ball, you're not really good enough to find spaces in there anyway, because you're not a centre mid or a 10. So you don't really get on the ball anyway in really any dangerous positions. And basically, yeah, the good barometer for Dalot is if we have a shit hot left back that plays, and that's a really good left back, who's playing right back? It's Mazraoui, right? Who's way better coming inside. Who's just he's probably even better defensively than Dalot. Gets forward better. Links play better on the ball. He looks a bit awkward. Mazraoui's got the Varane style kind of, when he gets on the ball, it's a bit hunchy and it's a bit kind of like gangly with the legs. Well, he's better than Dalot. Facts. And Dalot again, yeah, like he's focused, lacks it. He's an athlete. He's a linear athlete who doesn't even have a good cross on him really anymore. So yeah, that's just the way I think that is the way to really judge Dalot. And he's like a loyal servant, it seems now, to the club, and he's like bought into all that, and he's getting game time. And I think he's a good squad defender to have, to literally play left back, right back, come off the bench, play good minutes, but not be like he's not the guy, right? And there's a lot of those in this team, it seems, like Dalot's a good example of it, as he's not the final form right back that's going to really do anything for United, but he will do for now, kind of thing, right? And I feel like there's a lot of that. There was a lot of that in the team yesterday, which we'll get to. Yeah, Rashford put in a really good ball for the Garnacho goal. I think it was a good cross. He got into a good inside channel, was afforded a hell of a lot of space. Because of that space, he actually got his head up, which you don't. No, I'm not bashing Rashford here. You don't really see him get his head up, right? It's not part of his game, really. But he got his head up, and Garnacho also was in acres of space. But fair play to Rashford, found him with a peach of a ball. Wasn't a knuckle ball per se. It was actually had a little bit of whip, a bit of inside step on it. And then Garnacho got just a really good connection to the ball. I think it was pretty central where it went in. But obviously, when you connect him with that much speed, there's not really much the goalkeeper can do unless it actually goes right at him. But then the question is there for Rashford: is he better than Ahmad on the right hand side? I think Garnacho's probably sewed up the left. Not because he's a world beater, incredible starlet talent that's going to take over the world. He's just better than Rashford on the left-hand side. It's like going back in time a little bit, the way Rashford probably was when he first came on the scene, the way Garnacho is, that they have strengths and weaknesses that are differing slightly, but it's a similar, if you squint, it's a similar archetype of player, right? Garnacho, Rashford, speedster who works kind of hard, will track back but doesn't really know what he's kind of doing when he's tracking back. He's not the most effective defensively, but will track back, will press if the whole team's pressing, isn't clinical but goes on purple patches with goals, right? So that's kind of Garnacho. So we've just basically got a fresher version of Rashford, basically. And then so he's going to take up the left-hand side. Now, Ahmad balances it out, balances the links play better, balances play better on the right-hand side, comes inside with more proficiency, has a better touch, holds onto possession more. So all these things he's better than at Rashford. But it's just dependent. But the problem is with Ten Hag is his back's against the wall, and this is what Ten Hag wants, right? This front four of Højlund, Bruno, Rashford, and Garnacho, that's his front four, unfortunately. In my opinion, it's unfortunately. In my opinion. It's just my opinion. My preference, probably, as well. Definitely my preference would be an alternate front four. But I think that Ten Hag has kind of always really stuck to his guns, even though we made different signings, had different players with different characteristics, different skill sets. I just think it feels really unnatural for Ten Hag to be playing players like Ahmad and Xerxes and Sancho's. I think he is very, very pragmatic in this transitionary kind of physical brute force style. It's heavily based on mistakes and vertical balls in the air, very direct. And against a mid-table team that will play your game, it can work. You have better players against players who have cost a lot of money or are on a lot of money or have big reputations, so those players should be able to conjure up a few chances to win games against these types of teams. Um, so yeah, I feel like he will just play Rashford now. He was looking for a performance and a result to be able to just continuously play this team now. I think even if you see this team play badly in a Premier League match, it will stick. I think this is your Premier League team now. I think he may play against Fenerbahce in midweek because we need a victory in the Europa League. And I think, this is kind of Xerxes Ahmad on the bench now. And I think that tells a lot that this manager can really only play one way. There's no... You might have brought in Xerxes and Ahmad. In reality, is our most balanced, probably our best winger. Over a course of a 90-minute game, who does the most things well, correct. You would say it is probably Ahmad, but I don't think there's room for those type of players in Ten Hag's philosophy. I think relying on physicality and direct football takes probably the pressure away from Ten Hag, it puts the onus on the physicality of the team when you pick that team. There's no second guessing what's going on. It's very clear what that team offers and what it does not offer. And I think Martinez at left back kind of works against teams that perform in that manner. At home, again, quite open, able to get on the ball at times, able to start off attacks on that in that kind of inside midfield-ish channel where you would be if you were playing on the left of a diamond almost, or in a pivot. I think he offers a lot more than Dalot in that kind of space. But that's one to look at. Mildly interesting. It's just hard to be in. It's just not interesting football, in my opinion, what we see. Even though the two goals were kind of good, well taken goal. It was a cross and a volley, right? So that's not necessarily good team action or play. And the second goal was quite nice. It was Martinez plays the ball into Eriksen, who plays a really nice ball into Bruno. Bruno with a pretty rudiment. It was a good flick. It's not anything mind-boggling like the commentators were going absolutely wild about it. I mean, in terms of flicks, it's as basic as a flick as you're going to get, right? So, and that's not taken away. It's a good... Sorry, one sec. Man is parched. It was an alright flick, do you know what I mean? Whatever. Right, we're near the end of this. So what else we got in here? Yeah, so that kind of style of play, what we saw yesterday, is what Gary Neville wants, and it does seem that's the kind of performance that the match day fans want. I don't think that that kind of football is sustainable over a season. It's not sustainable to win anything important when it comes league titles or Champions Leagues. I don't see... Teams just don't allow you to play that way if they're at any kind of level. The only time you can play that way is if a team like Brentford allow you to, with their lack of quality. So they're playing like a big team, but then they lack the quality. So when you get a mid-table team that feels themselves a little bit too much, that's when you can kind of get away with playing that way and winning. And even those are still a 2-1 victory. I think people are kind of thinking that we absolutely destroyed Brentford when that's not really the case. And I think probably the last few things. Rio said that before the international break, after our last game, he said that transitioning. I think we need to stop playing this transitionary football, which is correct, right? It took Rio about 5 years to say that, oh, maybe we shouldn't play transitionary football, but he got there, right? So that's what. So it'd be interesting to see what his stance is now, because it seems that the only way that Ten Hag can and wants to play is that transitionary game. And the only players that he can play for that is the front four that he played yesterday. They're the only ones that work in this transitionary system. Ahmad, because he's that good of a player, because he's got the physicality to him as well, he can mould his game to this transitionary kind of big space football. But it doesn't suit him. It doesn't suit Anthony, it doesn't suit Xerxes, it doesn't suit Sancho, doesn't really suit Maino, it doesn't suit Ugarte, it doesn't suit Martinez, suits Dalot, Højlund, Marcus, Garnacho and Bruno, 5 players. And I think that he's just going to stick with that core, which will eventually fail him again. You know, he hasn't found something here. This is just reverting back to what you were doing over a year ago. So yeah, it's a win, but if you kind of like to go up and down with a win and a loss and a win and a loss every week, and you're looking at weeks in just a very weekly cycle, if your cyclical kind of outlook on football and life is just week on, just take each week as it comes, take each game as it comes. But if we're kind of like analysing a little bit, then maybe we should just take a little bit of a step back. And look at the macro side of it, and I don't think this performance really changes anything. It might take away some of the noise online. If anything, it's just everyone's just stopped moaning for a bit, which is just probably refreshing. Just can't handle the moaning, even though I think it's still awful football for me to watch. I literally fall asleep. I can't stay awake for a whole 90 minutes. It's impossible in a Man United game. It's like a lullaby. Now, next game is Fenerbahce, I believe, on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever the hell the day the Europa League's on now. And we'll see if Jose Mourinho comes, or we go there. I think it's over there. Let's see if Jose Mourinho affords the space in behind and affords these huge gaps and just goes toe-to-toe with United and lets us play our game, or he will stifle us. And then if you stifle this team, then we will see the true colours appear once again. This is not me being negative, because this is just, we have to be really kind of level-headed with it. We can't be too up or too down with things. We just got to see things and call them as they are. Anyway, that's enough. It's 23 minutes. This is the What the F Happened show. Hey, it's a good name, isn't it? Or not? Or is that too lame? This whole thing's lame, mate. Talking about football on YouTube, it's obviously well lame. The whole thing's lame. But anyway, a little bit of insight there. Yeah. Catch you in the next one.